Hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Tiffany Matthews, your healthcare BFF, and I wanted to welcome you to day two of the Caregiver Effect Executive Learning Series. I brought this to bring awareness. I created this summit to bring awareness to leaders, corporate leaders, managers, directors, COOs, CFOs, CEOs, all of the C whatevers. I need leaders to pay attention to this message. This is discussing the concept of caregiving and work and healthcare. That is what the caregiver effect is. It's that intersection of caregiving, work, and healthcare. And I noticed in all my research that people weren't paying attention to that area. So I wanted to. I wanted to show everyone, all employers, businesses, the healthcare system, how pervasive caregiving is. It really is. Caregiving is everywhere. I don't care who you love. I don't care who you worship, where you live, how much money you have, what color your skin is. Caregiving affects everyone. Again, that I mentioned, something I mentioned last time in my last live, caregivers provide $1 trillion in free patient care every year, every single year. Okay. And that the fact of that is, if they stopped, healthcare would collapse. That $1 trillion, the healthcare system depends on that. Everybody depends on that. We just don't know it because we look at, symptoms of caregiving differently, separately. Somebody may have burnout and be tired. It may be from caregiving, but corporate leaders may think it's from maybe a substance abuse problem, maybe some kind of malicious kind of thing when it's caregiving. So I'm imploring leaders to stand up, find out who your caregivers are, because A, it's costing your business money. It's costing your employer money. B, caregivers, I guarantee, are on your team. 73% of employees report caregiving duties, according to Harvard. These are things that you need to know immediately. Companies can make easy transitions into supporting their caregivers. It could be small, they can go as far as they want to. But caregiving needs to be addressed. So let's get to the presentation today. And I have got my tech under control today, I think, God willing. So let's see if I actually do. And I'm going to get to the presentation. Here we are. Caregiver Effect Learning Series, Executive Learning Series, Day 2. I'm so happy that you're here. Again, I'm Tiffany Matthews, your healthcare BFF. I am the founder and CEO of PACE. PACE is an acronym for Patient Advocacy and Caregiver Empowerment. So let's jump right into Day 2, which is called Hidden Caregivers. Hidden caregivers. Why are your caregivers hidden at work? Lots of reasons, right? Lots of reasons caregivers can be hidden at work. But just to recap a couple of things from yesterday, we'll go into this and just do a quick recap. Okay, now, what is the caregiver effect? I created the term and I defined it as what happens at the intersection of caregiving, work, and healthcare. It is the impact of family caregiving on caregivers, families, businesses and employers, and the healthcare system. That is a large, broad definition of what the caregiver effect can be. It can be as simple as, some of your staff coming in late. leaving early, or some of your staff can take a leave, FMLA leave, or some kind of other leave that makes it so that they can go and concentrate on caregiving. This is directly impacting your business every day. And caregivers need support in all of these areas: business, at work, healthcare, at home. And that is my mission. That is my mission at PACE, to help caregivers at work, at home, and in the healthcare system with the caregiver effect. So again, they hold up our economy with $1 trillion in free care. Think about it for a second. If all caregivers stop today, that means everyone or most of those people that need care will end up in hospitals or nursing facilities. So healthcare will be overrun. Home care will be overrun for the ones who choose to stay home. Nursing facilities will be overrun. Hospitals will be overrun. If caregivers quit today, we will be up that proverbial creek without a paddle. I promise you. They hold up our economy, yet they don't get the recognition they need and deserve. And who are they? Again, 73% of your employees have caregiving responsibilities. And it's not about just caring for elderly parents. Moms and dads care for children with disabilities, illnesses, or special needs. Spouses, they come in caring for their loved one every day. Spouses, significant others, domestic partners. They all care for that person they love. Adult children. Grandparents are taking care of younger kids at a higher rate these days. They're caregivers too, grandparents. Some of them caregivers themselves. Friends, neighbors, nieces, nephews, uncles, aunts, it doesn't matter, cousins, even people that are out of your family. These are your caregivers. And they come to work every single day with caregiving on their back. Every day. So that means they bring grief to work. They bring stress to work. They bring negative feelings about caregiving to work. They bring the heavy, burden, the overwhelm to work every single day. So here's kind of how the process is of caregiving. I told you about it in the last live, but the process can be as simple as this. It sounds simple, but for the person going through it, it is absolutely everything. Okay, an employee misses work because mom fell. She took a tumble and now she's in the hospital. Now she needs surgery. She's going to have to go through a long process of rehab. All of these things happen on a daily basis. The manager looks at that employee and doesn't know why. Performance has changed. They're more tired. They're not getting the quota done as much as they used to. They're not answering as many phones. They're not doing as many reports. Yeah, because they're stressed and overwhelmed at home. We have to show up at work. People have to eat. People have to have places to live. We have to show up at work. But performance can change. And, caregiving can weigh so much on someone that they can quit their job. Caregiving wins in the face of employment many, many times. As companies, as businesses, as employers, what will you do with this information? The employee quits. You spent thousands of dollars training them, and now you'll have to spend thousands of dollars replacing them. And it's going to be worse if they're a part of your C-suite, a manager, a director, a VP, someone in the C-suite. Again, I just said 5 minutes ago, caregiving doesn't care who you are. That can strike at any time. It's really that simple, and most don't connect it back to caregiving. They connect it with something negative, maybe like substance abuse, or maybe something going on at home that's negative, but it really is the noble and loving process of caregiving. Now, let me ask you this. Does your workplace culture allow caregivers to speak up about it without fear of job loss, delayed promotions, or any negative reaction? I don't need an answer to that. I need you to ask yourself. Now, what does caregiving look like at work? Well, working exhausted, and that affects safety and presenteeism. If I'm working exhausted and I have to work on machinery in a factory, that's not going to be a good combination. Not at all. So that has to be considered when considering whether you have caregivers at your place of business. And this is a popular one: frequent lateness or leaving early. That affects time, that affects productivity, absenteeism, okay? Not coming into work at all. Absenteeism and increased PTO is needed when caregiving is at work, okay? There are any interrupting work for personal calls, research they have to do. That doctor can only speak to them now. I'm sorry it's in the middle of this meeting. But that person's been trying to get that doctor on the phone for days. I'm sorry it's in the middle of a big mandatory meeting, but I've got to take this call. Turning down leadership opportunities. You work for a long, long time to try and be in a position where you are, and it's difficult to get any job to offer you leadership opportunities. And when they do, they want you to take it. And you have to say no, because caregiving for mom or dad or grandma is way too heavy for you to accept that position. All that schooling, all those long nights, blood, sweat, and tears for caregiving to come in and interrupt your career path. It is what it does. It's going to be increased anxiety and stress for the employee. Absolutely. You're worrying about if mom fell down at home again. You're worrying if the medications are going to be right or covered. You're worried about that denied claim that they gave for treating mom at the hospital. You're worried about all these different things. You're not worried about if someone asks you for a report at work. I'm sorry, but this is how caregiving shows up. This is it. And not to mention the big B, burnout. Now, I know companies have all kinds of different, initiatives to address burnout, to address time and productivity and safety. You may be addressing symptoms of the problem. You're addressing symptoms instead of the overall arching problem of caregiving and work. I bet if every manager went and asked their teams today and they felt safe, you'd find a lot of caregivers that work for you. Moms, grandmas, grandpas, dads, children, grandchildren, anyone and everyone can be affected by caregiving. And this is how you're affected at work. Are your leaders thinking that this is something else when it can be caregiving? And this is how caregiving affects employers. Just like we went over yesterday, increased healthcare costs. Caregiving isn't easy. Caregiving wears on the person's physical and mental that is performing the caregiving. So, increased healthcare costs, mental health costs, decreased productivity because they're not there. Or when they are there, they're not there. Coming in late, leaving early, more PTO. Absenteeism, not coming in, presenteeism, being there but not being there. You're there physically, but mentally you're somewhere else. Retention, caregivers leave work often. Employment does not win against caregiving. If you want to retain those people, you have to support them in their caregiving so they don't leave you. Only companies that understand that are going to be competitive. in the 21st century. Only companies that understand that will be competitive in the 21st century. Again, the big B, burnout, delayed promotions, disability claims increase. Maybe that caregiver fell trying to care for mom. Leave claims increase. Potential safety concerns increase. If I'm coming to work exhausted, I'm not as aware, those lead to potential safety issues. Not to mention, through all of this, businesses lose between 5 and 6K a year per employee. Not just the caregiving employees, every employee per year. Businesses lose 44 billion and upward in America each year on caregiving alone. Now, why do your caregivers stay hidden at work? Why? Well, number one factor, fear. Fear. They're afraid. They're scared to tell you for fear of repercussions, for fear of lost job opportunities, for fear of stigma. When my mother was caring for my grandmother at Graham's end of life, she had to leave work often and mentioned several times how when she left, people would just look at her like she gets to leave all the time. Well, she wasn't going to a trip to Mexico. She was going to pick up Graham off the floor again. That is not a stigma that a caregiver wants to feel at work. This is not fun and games. This is serious. Does your corporate culture allow for care forward and feel comfortable coming forward? Most companies and employers don't even measure this. So I don't think they do have that corporate culture. It can change. It can change. Privacy. A lot of people, very, very private. They don't want to discuss what's going on in their life at home with people they work with, even their manager. They want to keep it fiercely private. But again, I feel that roots back to fear. If you have no fear about anything, about what you're talking about, then you're going to share it. But if you do have fear, you're not. And when they don't share with you, that affects your business directly. So it's up to the culture to change and become accepting of something that happens so naturally in life. Everybody goes through it for the most part. If you love someone, there's a chance you will caregive out here. If you love anyone, there's a chance you will be a caregiver here. You can prepare for it and do that. Some people don't speak up because they're embarrassed to. They're embarrassed to. They're embarrassed to talk about their performance. They're embarrassed to talk about what's going on at home. They're embarrassed overall. They may not be performing at the way that they feel they should. That's embarrassing. And they stay hidden because their performance is attributed to other factors. Again, substance abuse, laziness, not wanting to, do their work. But it's not those things. All they're trying to do is take care of a loved one at home. Again, extremely natural. People age and get sick. And America is aging. America is aging. By 2030, they say, there will be more elderly than kids under 18. Who's going to care for all of them? Especially when there's a doctor and nursing shortage that's been going on for years. It's going to fall back to families. It's going to fall back to employees. That's what's going to happen. Your employees are going to have to take on more and more and more at home. There are caregivers at home that care for more than one person. They care for 2, 3. I know a caregiver who cares for 5 people and works a full-time job, bless her heart. Absolutely. This is why your people won't come to you and tell you why they're a caregiver. They're afraid. The culture doesn't welcome it. Even the best of cultures, these best places to work and greatest places to work and all these award-winning places, even they're not aware. Some of them are not aware. And they win awards for employee efforts. Even they don't know. This is why your caregivers won't disclose. This is why they won't tell you. For fear and stigma, fear of lost job opportunities. Your culture doesn't allow it. Privacy, embarrassment, and their performance is attributed to other factors. So how do we begin addressing caregiving at work? First thing you can do, ask your people. Ask them, are you caregiving at home? Is anyone a caregiver on our team? This would be great to know because we want to help you. Again, companies that begin to have a caregiver strategy are the only ones that are going to survive. Caregiving is only going to become more pervasive. There's always going to be caregiving, there's always going to be work, and there's always going to be healthcare. So my mission is to help caregivers get through it all. Normalize conversations about caregiving at work. Yes, have a session, have groups like the employee resource groups. Start one about caregiving. I guarantee you it'll be one of the biggest ERGs you have. One of the biggest. Offer resources to caregivers. Let them know about people like me who are helping them, who want them to be successful and not burn out and not, just collapse under the weight of caregiving. I've seen it. I've worked with hundreds of caregivers. My own mother collapsed under the weight of caregiving. It is heavy. Train leadership to spot the symptoms and not be negative with where they go. Have them just address the employee. I see your performance is just affected a little bit. Is there something going on that I can help you with to get you back up where you were? Open the door. Open the door. Change the culture. I swear to you, the only companies that do this are going to be the only ones who sustain themselves. And review benefits and policies. Do you have policies that can support caregivers? Things like flex time, work at home, different shifts. I had a boss before that said, look, I don't care when you do the 8 hours, just do the 8 hours. I don't care if you do them 2 hours at a time, 4 hours at a time, just do my 8 hours every day. And that's what I did. And it was so much easier when I am a single mom. So my daughter, when she was a baby, I would have to change everything around. I worked at home a lot. And I'm glad that my job gave me that option. You have to give options to your caregivers so that they take them. But you can't force them to disclose everything to you. There are policies I'm sure you have now. So be gentle with it. Just ask, are there any resources I can offer you to help? Make sure your leadership is aware and that your policies and benefits match what's going on. And if you normalize the conversations about caregiving, they'll happen more. It'll become normal. And this is what people want, I promise. And PACE believes in education, big time. Again, PACE is patient advocacy and caregiver empowerment. And education is one of the key functions here. Now, what I'm offering is the Caregiver Effect Employee Learning Series, and I'm offering the Caregiver Effect Executive Learning Series. Now, the Employee Learning Series is really simple. They're employee lunch and learns, they're 30-minute workshops, just bite size. They can come in, bring their lunch, and just learn what, about caregiving, healthcare, aging, senior care, self care, so much more that I have available. And those go for $400 for 30 minutes. Leadership workshops. We will talk about how we can change the culture, how we can lead culture with caregiving efforts. And we'll talk about them in 60-minute sessions, and those are $600. And what I'm doing coming in September is an executive roundtable for all leaders to come to a monthly forum to discuss caregiving, how it affects business, and coming up with solutions for leaders and businesses. I will have a founding rate for the first 50 companies that join of $197 per month. You're going to get a lot of stuff. We're going to talk. We're going to figure out solutions. We're going to take healthcare by the horns. I mean, caregiving by the horns. And we're going to find out solutions that work for your businesses. This is what I'm doing, and I'm doing so much more. I have assessments for businesses. I will come in, see how many caregivers you have, see how much it's costing you. I'll review your policies and benefits to see if they're adequate for caregiving. And this is all the way that you recoup that revenue. You will recoup that revenue. Later in the week, we'll go through the framework I use to work with companies: discover, quantify, support, and recover. That is my framework for getting businesses into the culture of caregiving and recouping the money they lose. That $5,000 to $6,000 a year per employee, yes, you can recoup some of that back, a lot of that back. If you have 1,000 employees right now, you're losing $5 million a year on caregiving. If you have 100 employees, you're losing $500,000 a year. And that's on the low end. It's easy to begin supporting your caregivers. It's as easy as a lunch and learn. And learning about it is as easy as a leadership workshop. And for those who want to take an ongoing kind of approach to this, the Executive Roundtable, which begins in September 2026. All you have to do any of these things, or to talk to me more, is just go to my website, pacelovescaregivers.com, and set up a time to talk with me. I'll let you know everything I'm doing and how it can help your business, your employer. It is crucial that caregivers are affected. You will see your numbers change in burnout, retention, turnover, time, attendance. You will see your numbers change for the better. You're just not addressing the overall problem. You're addressing the symptoms right now. I want to come in and help you address the overall problem. And I'm not just a one-off here. I don't want to be just a vendor to you. I want to be a strategic, long-term partner to you. I have a platform I'm building called Elnora's Place in honor of my grandmother. She's the reason that I do this business. And it's going to teach caregivers and those they care for how to navigate healthcare, improve patient care, and become an advocate in the system. I'm here for the long haul if you are, and I will help you change that culture at work. So just set up a time to talk to me at pacelovescaregivers.com. I want to thank you for coming out again today. Come back tomorrow for more. Day 3. Day 3 will be about, let me check really quick because I don't remember all the time. Day 3 will be about healthcare navigation as a workforce strategy. Healthcare navigation as a workforce strategy. We will talk about that tomorrow. I am your healthcare BFF, Tiffany, and I am so glad that you could come to this presentation. If you have questions, you can most absolutely contact me at pacelovescaregivers.com. Again, contact me at pacelovescaregivers.com. There's a big purple button at the top of the page where you can click and schedule a call with me. I will tell you everything that you need to know about this. So, have a great day. Come back tomorrow at noon, and I will see you then. I am Tiffany Matthews, your healthcare BFF for family caregivers. Lead the charge. Take care of your caregivers at work. And I'm going to take care of them at work, at home, and in the healthcare system. See you tomorrow.